Hello and welcome. Today we will discuss the basics of the global financial system. I will go over a multitude of building blocks of our financial system, explaining their history and function in our world. We will then see negative sides of the system and several ways you can protect yourself against them, negate their risks, and use the system to your advantage. Let's begin. For several millennia, our world was incredibly disconnected. It wasn't until we have invented advanced methods of transportation that a need for interconnectivity has arisen. The Industrial Revolution and spike in population have created the need for more centralized forms of monetary control. It is during the 19th and 20th centuries that major financial centers were established. Among them, Paris, London, New York, and Berlin being the frontrunners. These world renowned centers play an integral role in regulating financial and monetary flows around the globe to this day. The 20th and 21st centuries saw a massive expansion in the number of countries with central banks. These institutions were set up under the pretense of easing the control over the monetary supply in the country. The US dollar became the world reserve currency in 1944. It solidifies the global influence of the United States following the end of the Second World War. One other very important milestone has equally taken place: the advent of fiat currency. Advent of credit cards. The middle of the 20th century led to the creation of one of the most popular consumer lending methods, the credit card. It was pioneered by Frank McNamara in 1950. Thinking of a method that would allow his clients to pay without cash after eating at his restaurant, Diners Club, he invented a card which allowed a person to charge the balance and pay it later for a small fee. Later on, in 1958, Bank Americard is released, allowing cardholders to pay at various stores and gas stations with one single card. This card charged an interest rate on the outstanding balance. During the 1970s, Visa and MasterCard gained widespread popularity and were now established as two of the leading credit networks across the globe. Their cards started to be issued by various banks, and no longer were you restricted on the locations where you can use your card as long as the Visa or MasterCard logo was present at the counter. These networks continued to dominate. In 1986, a new network appears, Discover. They are one of the first to offer a credit card with rewards such as points and cashback. Credit cards have become ubiquitous in our daily lives, even more with the advent of the internet and online shopping. As the popularity of credit cards exploded, so did the debt. Over 72% of American households carry credit card debt totaling over 1 trillion US dollars. That is approximately $6,300 per person. These extreme levels of debt are unprecedented. Some of the most obvious drawbacks of credit cards are the higher spending they lead to, debt overburdening, and impulse purchases. It has been proven that people tend to spend more on average when using credit cards than by using cash. This is due to the decreased emotional attachment. To add, there are unprecedented amounts of credit card fraud happening, and while you are protected in such cases, you always risk falling victim to such frauds if they go unnoticed. You may ask yourself, what measures can I implement in order to circumvent some of the possible drawbacks of credit cards? For one, you may responsibly use credit cards and repay the full outstanding balance at the end of each statement due date. You can plan your purchases and use it as a debit card, or you can stop using them entirely and pay cash for your goods and services. You may also try to take advantage of the already existing credit card system by enjoying the plethora of rewards credit card offers. You may earn points, miles, or cash back depending on the type of credit card you use. You can also churn credit cards by signing up to cards with big introductory offers and canceling them before you're charged the annual fee at the end of the year. This may be achieved by maintaining an excellent credit score and lending history by paying your balance in full each and every month, over a lengthy period of time. Now, we will explore the evolution of money in a brief manner. Almost for the entirety of human history, money had intrinsic value. What this means is that coins used as currency were made of precious metals, such as gold and silver, which defined their value. Later on, in the 18th and throughout 20th centuries, paper money gained popularity. While lacking intrinsic value in itself, it was backed by physical reserves of gold and silver. This is called a gold standard. As you can see on the $20 bill, it is clearly stated, quote, "This certifies that there have been deposited in the Treasury of the United States of America $20 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand." Unquote. Following the abolition of the gold standard of the United States dollar in 1971, it became a fiat currency. It is important to notice that it's a currency and not money. That is because it neither carried any intrinsic value nor had any backing by a commodity. It was now merely a promissory note whose value is to be determined only by the trust people had in it. By analyzing the picture on the far left, it can be noticed that the wording on the bills has changed to say, quote, "Federal Reserve Note," unquote. No longer was there any mention of any guarantee of physical commodities being stored in the reserves, such as gold or silver. From this point forward, it was much easier for the United States Federal Reserve to print more money than was stored in its reserves. It is also important to note that the name Federal Reserve Bank is very deceitful. In fact, this so-called Federal Reserve Bank is a privately owned and independently operated corporation. It is not part of the federal government, and neither does it have anywhere near enough gold reserves to call itself a reserve bank. Simply put, it is a printing press which lends the United States government its own currency, the US dollar, at an interest rate. This rate is called the prime rate. This is just so you understand the complex and deceitful nature of our financial system. There are various drawbacks to our current system. For one, due to the nature of fiat currency and the freedom to create money out of thin air, the purchasing power of this currency decreases at a faster pace. This is called inflation. The more money that is printed, the less purchasing power it has. In the 20 years spanning from the year 1990 all the way to the year 2010, the US dollar lost over 2/3 of its value. Moreover, this sort of system allows for a higher risk of financial crises. As seen during the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis, overlending, especially to individuals who are not able to repay this debt, may lead to a chain reaction of bankruptcies and foreclosures, plunging the stock market and the economy to all-time lows. Some of the possible countermeasures are to hedge your money against inflation by investing in precious metals such as gold and silver. By looking at the chart on the right, you may notice that the purchasing power of $100 worth of gold bought in 1971 has increased by dramatic amounts, while the value of the US dollar decreased substantially. You may equally try to take advantage of the system. You can invest in stocks, bonds, equities, ETFs, and various other financial instruments in order to generate returns that exceed the rate of inflation. I would like to conclude my brief overview by making it clear that you and each and every one of us have ways at our disposal that can help us avoid the many pitfalls of our modern complex financial system. You may even choose to use the system to your advantage, carefully navigating it. You can also help by sharing this knowledge and passing it on to others. After all, my end goal has always been to answer one essential question: how can I help others acquire this valuable knowledge and share it? Thank you.